Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, My Hero Academia edition. Today, we are reviewing the final 4 episodes of season 6 of My Hero Academia that just concluded at the time of recording yesterday on the 25th of March. So we have the My Hero enthusiast with us, Miss Andrea Alanese. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Just bought some random anime merchandise from an antique shop of all places, so I am very excited about that. And I am excited to be talking about my hero again, but so sad that this is the end of season 6. It feels like it just started and now it's over.
Yeah, 25 episodes going back all the way to October 1st. So it's been going.
It has. And when I mean they took that break,
Mm-hmm.
that mid-season break, which really, kind of gave us the benefit of dragging it out per se, in that it would extend into the new year longer.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, I'm just one of those people that I don't like when things end and I don't like when things hang off. So, like, I was talking to somebody recently who is not a big fan of starting anime series or any series that aren't finished because they don't like to wait. And I straight up told them, like, if I didn't do this podcast, I would literally wait until the whole season was over before binging the entire thing all at once because I hate waiting for the next episode and then the next episode.
Yeah, so in Japan, it's over on the 25th. English is not far behind. They just did an hour special they got some stuff coming up. April 9th, they are doing an hour special. So they got some things. So they're not too far behind. So they'll probably be done English wise around end of April, early May.
Really? So what was announced? I'm totally unaware. What was announced, that hour special thing? Like, what is that?
So it's showing that it's actually looking like they did 2 hour specials. So the first hour special, it's looking like for English, they're going to do April 2nd with part 1 and 2 of Midoriya's fight against Lady Nigant. I
Mm-hmm.
get, and then they're going to do a hour special on April 9th with Friend and Deku versus Class 1A. For 2 hours.
Interesting.
So they're doing hour special on that, which means I wouldn't be too surprised if they did hour specials on the final 2 episodes,
Right.
if that's the way they want to go. And then let's get into it. So our last episode was episodes 18 through 21. So
Mm-hmm.
literally the conclusion of that fight. And then we come back episode 22. Try and streamline these for y'all. Titled Friend. And you have, it just starts off Midoriya, the top 3 heroes, plus the lurkers, go to abandoned hideout. All for one, we've known since
Is
October,
always ahead of the game.
always ahead. And then he just telling Midoriya that he's like, oh, it's his turn, haunting Midoriya
I'm
for his
not.
failures.
I'm done playing with All Might. I'm focused on you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're the one that's next. You're the one I'm interested in. And for me, that was a callback to when, All Might's last fight with All for One, where he points at Midori and says, like, you're next. Of course, in a, like, you're taking up the mantle. I can't do this anymore. Like, in more of a, it wasn't a good thing, but like in a positive light. And then for All for One to point at the camera, knowing that potentially Deku's going to be seeing this and be like, I'm interested in you. You're next. Like, the foreboding, the fear, I mean, he already knew it was going to be him against it was going to be him, but like it just put it into a whole new realm of like, holy shit, in his mind. And you could tell throughout the episode and the subsequent episodes, it really changed and shifted his perspective on that upcoming fight, because it seemed like he was really focusing on Shigaraki, and he, not that he forgot, but he kind of let the concern about like, oh well, is Shigaraki, somebody that he can save? Like, will I have to kill him? Blah 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 blah. And we don't really talk about the fact that he needs to put down all for one. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, he does. And like you already said, like it's changed it. I mean, the last previous fight was really starting to change, and then this message too, because he goes solo now. He's not listening to the predecessors in this episode. He's not listening to All Might,
Mm-hmm.
not answering the phone from the other heroes. He's just doing things on his own, and not just mentally, but that also because he's not resting, all that stuff changes his appearance physically, where you got civilians wondering if he is a hero or if he's a villain.
Right. Right. Having that, and then having, so, I mean, all of the heroes are having the contention with the public, but nobody's actually questioning them if they are, on the public side. Whereas with Midoriya, like you said, they are questioning him because he is looking haggard. And the biggest thing for me was like, he can't even stand upright in most of these episodes because he's still hurt. Like, I, not that I forgot that he got shot in the back, but like until they specifically mention, like, hey, ninth, like your injuries haven't healed yet. And I'm like, oh shit, of course. Because I don't know what it is. My default for anime episodes, any TV shows, is kind of like a couple days have passed since, the last episode ended. Not necessarily like it picks up the same night or the next morning. So like he just got shot and he's still out here doing what he's doing. And I mean, he doesn't have any regenerative quirks and he can't, shack up with I'm forgetting her name right now, Recovery Girl for a second to heal him up or go to a hospital because he's going to put people in danger and blah 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 blah. We go down that rabbit hole. So, yeah, he's walking around with probably busted ribs, shot up back, like he's worse for wear, like truly.
Yeah, and then for anyone who doesn't, if anyone who does use social media, if you use Twitter, a great thing for these anime episodes is following out of context manga panels. Typically, they like if an episode comes out, they'll post like a thing of the panel and whatnot, and like you see how well the My Hero Academia anime like got from the manga, the way where Deku's walking when he has like when he's ragged up, like looking just monstrous, looks like it
He
came right
looks
out
like
of
a
the
monster.
manga.
Like he looks like a
Mm-hmm.
rabid rabbit. He
He
does with
does.
his ears thing. And then the gloves, like I know part of it is they're getting at like his gloves are all ripped and torn up and shit. But like the way that they're almost pointed at the ends make them look like claws. And it's like, okay, like ripped up gloves are not going to end up looking like claws, but obviously this is an aesthetic and artistic choice to kind of get it out there that he does look menacing.
Yeah. No, and he's walking, and then obviously just out of ironicness, he runs into Cameo, the area where All for One and All Might have their final fight. And you see the All Might statue there, and then he's fighting another hitman named Dictator, whose quirk is pretty strong. It's
It reminded me of
pretty strong.
Kafuro from Naruto, since we
Yeah,
always gonna have a Naruto call out.
yeah,
I mean, he's basically a puppet master.
it's really strong. Deku's just too tired. He's unable to fight. And then you look up, Bakugo blasts Dictator, knocks him out, and the rest of them class 1A
Just all
secure him.
pop up, and we're like, wait, what?
Yeah, and if you see during that episode too, they figure out that All Might and Midoriya are working with Endeavor because Endeavor shows up at the school, and then
They
like
lay a trap for him, actually. They get the
yeah.
principal involved, they lay a trap for him. And Endeavor's
So,
like, what the fuck? Yeah.
but honestly, if Endeavor wanted to, he could have stopped Tape Dude from getting his phone. Like
Oh,
that
yeah.
that was
100%.
that was little plot device and all of that. And Nezo, the principal, gives him permission to go out there, try and convince Midoriya to come back to class to UA. They
Mm-hmm.
confront him. He tells them to get out of his way.
Yep.
They all say no. Bakugo is masterful in this episode at the end of it,
Yes.
saying the All Might wannabes, telling us to try to leave, and we're not going to.
Yeah.
And it ends with the cliffhanger of Midoriya staring down his class, and then it goes right to the next episode, Deku versus Class 1A.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of going into that, what were your thoughts now that we went from the friend thing, which I don't know if it was the third or second user who
It was the
said
second.
that
It was
the
the second
second
user. The second user looks like Bakugo. I just want to throw that out there. It
Mm-hmm.
freaking blows my mind. I swear to God, he's gonna have a quirk like Bakugo. Anyway, regardless. Yeah, no, he's the one that's talking about how like when they're in their, little semicircle round
Mm-hmm.
chairs, talking about Midoriya like not listening and kind of like doing things. And the second's like, no, listen, he's got everything that he needs. The only thing he still needs right now, and they kind of leave it off through most of the episode, but we all know what he's about to say. And that's what he says at the end of the episode is a friend, is somebody to, somebody, I mean, in this instance, it's a class, but like somebody to walk alongside him through this. And I mean, that goes into the name of the final episode of this season, but I won't mention that till we get there. But yeah, so it's oh, I didn't know. I know we've repeated a million times that I don't read the manga, so like I did not know that getting Deku to come back was going to take a fight. I knew there was going to be a moment for Bakugo. I had those panels spoiled about like his whole like apology during the class 1A fight, but I didn't know that it was going to be the whole class and that they were actually going to fight. I thought it was going to be, kind of a talk no jutsu situation, and that got sprinkled in there. But it was definitely, if Deku would have been able to get away, the talk no jutsu wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, so you see each person using their quirks, and each person who's had somewhat of a
Interaction, like,
moment with
mm-hmm.
Midoriya naming stuff from Jiro talking about with the showing like he's I'm so
The school
happy that you're
festival.
so passionate about your music and all of that stuff to like day ones like Mineta and Froppy talking like especially Mineta talking about like that very first him, Midori and Froppy against those
Yeah,
villains at the beginning. It's like
at
I
the
didn't care about
USJ. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I didn't care about your quirk. I just care that like you were scared like me and you were able to do something, we acted, all that stuff too, which they sprinkled this in, which I don't know if that was in the manga, but the part where Kirishima was like, I was there when you saved Bakugo.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like the very first interaction there.
No,
And
not that he was there. It was he had heard about a story of a kid his age just jump in to save his friend from a villain.
the way they
So,
showed that panel, it seemed like he was in the crowd.
oh, really? I did
Yeah.
not get that from. I did not get
Yeah.
that.
The way they showed it, they're like, yeah, it was like some kid who looked just my age just running in there. And he's like, that
Yeah,
was you. Like it way it looked like he was there, like he witnessed it. So neither here or there, but everyone's going through their thing. And then there you go. Then he gets caught in like Dark Shadow. Then took him. He talks. Momo really has nothing with Midoriya because she has
no.
nothing. So that was I was like okay. But then Denki, he came out. We're friends. Yada yada. We might have different all that stuff. He breaks out of their stuff. So I'm like,
Mhm.
well, okay, guys. But Shoto caught him in the ice. I was kind of hot for the moment that like he has good, like important interactions with Midoriya, but they did not let him highlight really
Much of
any of
anything.
it.
Well, I feel like part of the reason for that is because I mean, for Todoroki, for Shoto, he references Midoriya saving him all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I wasn't disappointed that it wasn't brought up for the upteenth time here. I actually really enjoyed the things that Shoto did say to him and the emotion and how emotive he was, like trying to convince him to stay, like, let us help you. We are your friends. Like, why look at your face? Your responsibility is so heavy you can't even cry. And that's a callback to when Midoriya was part of Aries' rescue mission and
Mm-hmm.
he was sitting next to Ida and Shoto and he like couldn't even bring himself to eat. And I don't remember how it got brought up, but Shoto's comment was like, I'm pretty sure heroes do cry if they need to, or
Yeah.
whatever it was. And so like that was a connection for me. And I'm just like, I loved his bit. I did. I was actually surprised that Midoriya was stuck in the ice as long as he was, because I felt like I was a little skeptical that he wouldn't have been able to just bust the hell out of that in a second. But
Well,
regardless.
plot devices, and also he is tired. I mean, he hasn't
Oh right.
gotten.
Oh right.
He's not at full 100%. But once he busts it out, he busts it out. And he even told all those people, he's like, you guys can't keep up. Like
Yeah.
You guys aren't basically you guys aren't at my level. If you guys get involved in this, you're gonna get cooked.
Mhm.
Like so then he's going off, and then you see everyone working together with the acid ramp and all of
Yeah.
that.
Acid ramp, ice ramp, acid, like, I guess for the friction to like just make it glide smoother. I'm not exactly sure the chemical function of all of that, but yeah, then they've got Bakugo as like the rear like thrusters, and then oh, the moment where Bakugo called Ida Prez instead of calling him Four Eyes.
You know,
And then so Bakugo has that monologue where he's like, I have things that I want to know that I need to tell you, but I'm going to wait for class prez to go first because you need to hear from him. And it's like,
well, he
damn.
also said before he even said that, he said the reason he threw him is because he's the only one who could take the speed
All right.
because of his thing. That's the reason he tossed. He wasn't a matter of going first. It was a matter of his, well, also from his season 5 total victory and doing whatever it takes to get total victory. So if that means him not getting catching him, and it means the person who can take the G's like the force and all that stuff
Mhm.
is Ida because he also
Right.
has. So that's why he tossed him. It wasn't, but then he
You know,
did catch
I,
him.
I'm
At,
pretty sure in that dialogue though, unless I was misreading it, in the subtitles it specifically said like, you know, I will wait until after class
well,
prep.
he said that like I want to tell you stuff, but the only person who could catch you right now is the only person who could take the thing. And then he said it, you're up, Prez, and then he tossed
Mhm.
Ida because Bakugo physically can't take that speed, and he's even if he bursted himself, he wouldn't be able to make it. Ida with his fast like repulsor stuff would be able to make it.
Yeah.
So it worked out, and then I mean it was gonna once the you say you the music came on, it was like all right,
Hmm. It's a
it's
wrap.
time. And then Ida catches him, and then you said like you were spoiled, but I wasn't because I don't look for spoilers at all. So a moment now that Bakugo's apology, which got the world a buzzing on how
Hmm.
well it was done, the panels, the
Hmm.
callback from when they were kids all the way to now, each time
Yeah.
him calling him Izuku for the first time in the series.
Yep.
Um, I mean, when I watched it for the first time, and I've watched it a lot after it, I can say now, Bakugo is the best character in this series. I can
After
I can
all his
say it.
development,
Yeah.
he is. He is. Um, I no longer am a Bakugo hater. I no longer dislike Bakugo. I just, yeah, he's the best written character. He has the best character development, and yeah, that episode, that sequence really warmed my heart. Um, the the level of sincerity and the depth to really kind of make a point at each moment of their lives where he was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is why I did this. I felt this way, and I'm sorry I acted like this. And it was also for me just kind of like, obviously this is the anime world and Deku's the sunshine main character, so he's not going to hold a grudge, but like part of me was like, if this happened to somebody in the real world, I wonder if they would still hold a grudge, because obviously Midoriya is not going to, never has. Um, but yeah, no, it was really, really, really well done. The only character that didn't really get a moment to speak in this episode to Midoriya is Uravity Uraraka.
And just with that episode in itself, I'm trying to find the right word for Bakugo. What he's technically what is technically called. Probably have to find Sasuke to do it. It's no because it's the protagonist role that starts with a D.
Protagonist, but starts with the D.
There's like a Duro antagonist, a protagonist. Like it's
Oh, type types of, is it deuteragonist?
yeah, I believe so.
It says most stories have primary protagonists and a secondary deuteragonist. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but that's how I'm reading it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the word because I mean, yeah, so it's a character. I mean, it's usually the rival. So like obviously like examples, Ron and Hermione, like
yep.
people like that. I mean, you can make the case now that
Dr.
Bach,
Watson, Jane
yeah,
Bennett. I'm not sure who
and
Jane Bennett.
then people like Sasuke Uchiha, Vegeta, all that stuff. You can make the case now that Bakugo is the best Duro antagonist in this new generation now because you have all this development and you're still and it's not like this is the final episode. There's still a
No.
season after that, and you've already got to this
Right.
where I mean his thing blew Sasuke's one out of the water.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Part of watching it for me, I was like, this is what I would have wanted for Sasuke. I would have wanted, because, like, I know in Naruto, it's kind of like, apology and amends and all of that stuff through fists. I get that. But, like, actually having a formal scene where there's an actual either apology
Mhm.
or at least a statement of appreciation of, like, thank you for never giving up on me. Thank you for still reaching your hand out. That type, like, some sort of actual, for me, like, verbal affirmation of a step forward and a shift change in thinking perspective. But the difference between Bakugo, one of the big differences between Bakugo and Sasuke is Sasuke's stoic and quiet. Bakugo almost can't shut up to save his life. So,
Oh, I was gonna say the biggest difference is no matter what Bakugo's personality is, he never flinched at turning evil. I mean, I think that's the
oh, that's
biggest
fair. That
difference.
that is the other big one. Yes, I just meant more so like in like character traits in how they present themselves like as a person, like their personality. But yeah, no, because and that's not something I picked up on at first. I really when he got kidnapped by the League of Villains, I really thought he was going to be tempted. I really thought I was like, ooh, maybe.
He's
But nope,
never he's
he's
never
never.
wavered.
Nope. And mad props to him. That's my bad on misreading his character. That's one of like the cornerstones of his, like, I don't want to say character, but like what's the word I'm looking for? His not character, not personality. Oh, like it's one of his, like, it's so closely connected to his values. It's I don't know. I can't find the word. I've lost it. But it goes beyond. It does. It goes beyond what on a surface level understanding of him or chance encounter with him would reveal, which is how myself was originally viewing him. And so that's why I was wrong when he was presented with that choice.
No, no, he and that was early too. Like never that was early, like season two, three, no three, because
Three.
that's yeah. So and now we're almost at seven. He's
Mm-hmm.
never wavered. I mean, if you paid attention to him, his whole thing, obviously, he felt guilt that which is kind of crazy, that the strongest person in the class, especially at season three, felt guilt that he got captured by the league, and
Mm-hmm.
like if he was stronger, then All Might would still be around. If
Mm-hmm.
All Might was still around, none of this stuff would be happening, type stuff. So you see that
Right.
when him and Midoriya fight. You get to season four after him and Shoto don't pass, and then they
Right.
have to do that remedial class, and he's talking to
Yep.
that kid saying, "Hey, if you
Yep.
let your arrogance and whatever go," and then you see the big jump in season five where
Yep.
he's like, I want total victory for
Mm-hmm.
that, no injuries on my team, no one getting hurt, whatever it takes. So that's the only victories I want now." And you're like, now this guy wants to win, and he also wants to make sure his whole team does not get touched because if his team gets hurt or worse, then he doesn't really win.
Counts it as an L. Yep.
And then
Yep.
you go to six, he gets stabbed
Yep.
for Midoriya, and then you
Yeah, he
have
does.
this moment where I mean this because I was already thinking, I was already going to ask once we finish this stuff, like your favorite episodes in here, and this and Dobby's dance. They are probably the two and the next episode coming up are probably the 2 or 3 best episodes of this season.
Agreed. I agree.
So,
100%.
and I was in a firm thing where I was like, oh, nothing will. I didn't know what was coming. I was like, nothing will beat Dobby's dance, the way they presented that, the music, all that stuff. And then you get to the end of this, and you're just like, wow, this is. And he called again, even just the small thing of calling him by his first name in 150 plus episodes. Like this is the first time the rival's called the main character by his first
First
name,
name. Yep.
and then Midoriya's running, and then Midoriya's about to pass out. Bakugo swift catches him. Midoriya's like, I apologize. I never meant to say you guys were behind.
We're
And Midoriya's
behind
like,
that you
I
couldn't
know.
catch up to me. And he reverts back to his, original soft boy um personality, because
Mhm.
basically, I mean, it's a very visual and stark contrast where basically he's running away from everybody. He's trying to make sure nobody touches him, because basically as soon as Ida made physical contact with him, grabbed his hand, Midoriya had that moment of just like, wow, like I'm running away from this because I'm afraid for them and I'm afraid for me. But the only thing that he really should be doing is embracing the help. Like it's such a real example of, people that feel hyper independent. No, you can't help me. If I ask you for help, I'm weak, or you wouldn't understand, or you can't handle this. And then, once you let them in, let them help, things in general tend to get better. Or if they don't get better, it gets lighter because you have other people helping you carry the load. Like that's what this whole episode is about. And the next one.
Yeah. And then on the flip, it's one of those things too, because then if someone was countering the point, if you do feel like all those people can't keep up with you, then they're dead weight. Like they're not doing you any good. You're not doing them any good. I mean, and it's funny because even go back both, even during this, like these episodes, Bakugo and his voice, he was just masterful. Like from the
Yes.
All Might wannabe at
Mm-hmm.
that to the apology, even in the middle, he was telling Midoriya, like, oh, like, feel like we can't keep up. It feels like you have a whole bunch of extras, don't you? And obviously, if
Yeah.
you've watched the series,
Yep.
you know Bakugo
Yeah.
has said that a lot. And then Midoriya's quiet when Bakugo says that too. So you're
Mm-hmm.
like, he's like, hey man, I know what that like. You feel like you're top dog, like all that stuff. So like these episodes were masterful, and then he's still masterful in the next one. But then you switch from the rival best friend, childhood friend, to then the main heroine
Mm-hmm.
of the series. So at the end of this, they bring Midoriya back to
UA.
UA, to big shelter, all that stuff, and then you have all these people. It's like, why is he here? Yada yada yada. And before he leaves, he tries to leave because he's like, all right, they don't want me here. F
Right.
y'all. And then Uraraka grabs his hand, and that goes into the next episode, a young woman's declaration.
Yes.
So my
That's the
first
episode that
thing,
had me in tears. Like at the end of her speech, at the end of her monologue. Well, I guess not a monologue because there was some callback from the crowd, but just like I was crying. I was
so
absolutely crying.
my first thing is the snake,
Mm-hmm.
whoever the snake who reported to the media that
Yeah.
Midoriya, that first thing, like I wasn't even moved. Like I was more mad about other points of this episode where I was like, all right, this is a feel good episode, but I was actually mad
Well,
because
right.
whoever ratted that was unnecessary. That was so unnecessary. Like, oh, he's after a person at UA, and it might be this. It's like, oh, it must be Midoriya, yada yada. I'm like, wow, the heroes haven't said nothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
Endeavor told those people, we are not saying anything about Midoriya.
Right.
Period. It's not even
Right.
up for discussion.
Right.
So some snake wanted to get a hot piece when the
But we
world's in
still have the
shambles.
traitor. The traitor's still
Well,
around.
I'm actually I'll bring that back up at the end of this episode.
Okay. Okay.
So
Keep going.
so I'm like, all right, this is 2023 at its finest. Don't care about the person. You want to get the breaking
Breaking
news thing.
story. You want to stoke the fire. Like,
And then
go for the story.
everyone's pissed. They don't want him there. Yada yada. They're like,
They're pissed. They're afraid. They're scared. They're scared
well,
that
I'm gonna
having him
ask
there is going
you.
to make them a target.
I
And
mean, strategically, are they wrong?
No, absolutely not. And that's the part of it that was so for me frustrating because yes, I was crying at the end of her speech, but like that's the thing is like their feelings are completely justified. Class 1A's feelings, Midoriya's feelings, everybody's feelings are justified. But the thing that's holding each side back or the general public side back is the fear. And like that is so blatantly clear everywhere is like being afraid and being uncertain and not feeling like there's a guarantee for your safety causes people to act rashly, not think things through, and honestly not be accepting of things that they don't understand or don't fully feel comfortable with because they're afraid of certain things, even if, once you logically think it through, it's still the better option. Like for them, yes, having Midoriya at UA does put a target on UA because Midoriya is the target. Like they only have the speculation that he's the target, but we know he's the target. So yes, so having him there does put them at higher risk. However, the security's been updated. Also, he is, and the way Uraraka did it, I wonder how they're going to translate it into English. I'm kind of curious, but in the sub being that he has like a special power that he's the one that has to fight all for one, all for
Well, even before Uraraka got there,
yeah,
probably the most respected hero at this point in Japan whose name isn't All Might, Blue
best Genius.
Genius. Yeah,
Yep.
before even Uraraka, Blue Genius. I mean, he was basically, I mean, he was like, senseiing it up, like, hey, this, and this, which his explanation was perfectly fine.
Yeah, but
Thought
then
it
they
would
picked it
work.
apart.
Then,
It was one word. I think it was one word or sentence, and they just went in on it. And it's like, shit. Like,
so that's when Uraraka got the
yep,
microphone and she went up. She gave that speech. And then just because I do want to save some stuff for the end of this episode. But
yep,
then if you're seeing the optics of that, Uraraka talking about like, it's interesting too, because if you've watched the series, you're like, you cared about the people smiling. You're the same person who like we've talked about on this podcast, and even before we even did the My Hero segment about your main thing was making sure your parents had money, which
money.
that is
Right,
fine, but
right,
Stain would have killed your ass.
right,
So
right. But then here we get like to the deeper meaning where it was like actually the money is more of a side benefit.
Stain would have still killed her.
Yes, but Stain also would have killed most of Class 1A. He would have killed
Oh yeah, and
heroes
he's
in
and
existence.
that's
So
coming
like,
too.
um, but regardless, for me, that was really like fundamental. I know she had mentioned previously, I don't remember what season, but she noticed that people were always smiling and her parents were always smiling when there were heroes around. So I knew that she associated like good feelings, happiness, general like public ease with heroes. So I knew that was there. So, but for them to finally like really like bring it forward that the money was kind of more of a really great additional benefit that this was her primary thing. And I mean, this whole second half is her, we keep getting her question over and over is like, when heroes fall, when heroes are having a hard time, who do the heroes have? And that question got brought up again during her speech. And I don't fully recognize why just yet. I'm sure we will see it come out in season 7. But partway through her monologue, kind of answering that question, she had a flash memory of her conversation with Toga when they were fighting.
Yeah.
And it was very brief, and she like paused, but we don't really get her deeper thoughts on what just happened or why that came forward. But I'm interested to like see where that goes.
So while this speech is going too, you're in the crowd too, like when the crowd's uneasy, all that stuff telling them to get out, and then I was like, oh, you like, and she's giving that speech. You see like the people who are at the shelter,
Mm-hmm.
which didn't know. Again, this is probably just for aesthetic things because they've had no interactions in the series whatsoever, faith on
Right.
camera. But obviously, Bakugo's mom is holding back Midoriya's mom
Mm-hmm.
because, like, you don't. It's from a sense too, like if they know that you're this person's mom, like right off the bat, you might be in trouble. So,
Right.
like, so holding her back, and then obviously Uraraka is giving that speech. Midoriya's breaking down, and then you have some callbacks,
Mm-hmm.
which, again, I did not expect because I'm watching this new, just like everyone else who's watching it and haven't read it. We're going back again all the way to like the training arc, season 3. You got Coda,
Yep.
you know, hate hero having ass Coda,
Yep.
which is kind of crazy how Coda and Muscular came back this season.
Yes.
So you see, obviously, you've already seen Muscular. Midori took care of him. Now you see Coda, the boy he saved. He's buying shoes. He wants
Yep.
the
And
red
they
ones.
have the flashback of him buying the shoes because we
Mm-hmm.
actually saw Coda once before. I don't remember why. And he was wearing the red shoes, and he like tried to pass it off that that's not why he bought the red shoes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then we get the actual like memory, and he at the end of her speech just comes running forward, crying. He was like, "I'm sorry I didn't come sooner," and it's just oh my god, it's so cute. And then the heteromorph woman that he saved by chance was actually at UA as well. And
Oh, that's
so,
another reason I was pissed because
yeah.
I didn't know we had racism in My Hero Academia.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So on that thought, the anime kind of it gets dropped here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not expressly stated. And the only reason it became very like apparent to me is again, a friend of mine from work had told me that in the manga and particularly in the vigilante manga, they really delve deeper into those things where heteromorphs are isolated. The building that the oh my gosh, the League of Villains took over, that little cult thing,
Mm-hmm.
basically they're like the KKK of My Hero against heteromorphs. That if you, and that's why they made a comment about Spinner in particular because he looks like a non-human. And then if you recall during the conversations in Tartarus during the break-in or right before the break-in, people are making comments about how like, so yes, they're kind of making comments about them being prisoners, but the one dude who's standing is also kind of making comments about, that they don't even look human anymore. That they like, and that's why that other guy is like, hey, you never know who's listening. You shouldn't talk like that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, yeah, apparently it goes deeper in the Vigilante series, but they have designated areas
That's
for
crazy.
people. Yes, yes.
That's what that was absurd when she walked up and she's like, all the other places were turning him down because I was like, really? Like, really? This is what's happening? The country's in shambles and we're turning away people because of the way you look.
Look.
Like, I'm like, all right, man. And they're the first two to run up, but this guy we probably will never see ever again. Ever again. Just some normal person, which I am all for the normal people. Like I am all for the normal people. He's there because it always happens in any show. There's always like a normal person within the crowd who
Yep.
swings it, and he's swinging. And he's talking about like, when All Might was around, we had this hero, yada yada yada, but then we
Yep.
forgot, the
Yep.
ideas and all that stuff. Which then, shameless plug, go back to our My Hero Academia case study about All Might being the symbol of peace. It always
Mhm.
gets brought up because the world went to
The
true
fact,
shit.
the fact that case study has been kind of an overarching theme for this season in particular makes
Mm-hmm.
my heart so freaking happy.
Always
Like,
goes to shit. It went to shit when he left.
oh man, just
But
but
so
I
he sways the
appreciated his
crowd.
analogy. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciated that guy's analogy of that he always viewed the heroes as like, somebody on the stage that somebody apart from him. And so, that whole pedestal thing. And when he
Mm-hmm.
made the comment about like we as a society lost sight of the soul of the man because of the hero. And it was just a very well explained and said analogy and really like helped like bring everybody in together for their giant group hug and huddle protective huddle over Midoriya.
Yeah, so he shifts the crowd. They even bring up the other school, which is funny how Bogdan and them remember because that school sucks. They are
Yeah.
terrible. They're terrible. Don't bring up that school now when we could have used you 22 episodes ago.
Oh no, for fucking real. Like
And you hung on to them on this pod, man. You really did.
I did. I was like, they're gonna come, they're gonna fucking show up. They're like, this is an all hands on deck. And we didn't even have all hands from fucking UA. What is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Shinsho wasn't there.
no.
I don't remember seeing Invisible Girl. Monoma wasn't fucking there. Like, why?
Well, let's go
Why?
into since you brought that up, and also obviously Endeavor and wasn't shown all that stuff because crowd's uneasy about him, and
Mhm.
Shoto even brings it up how in the
The
next
crowd's
episode the
probably
crowd's like,
also uneasy about him being there
yeah.
as well.
So All Might leaves. And then you see Stain like basically tailing him. So before we go to the next episode, some stuff you said I wanted to bring up because I actually like had these thoughts and wrote it down. Going back to is it wrong? So strategically, like within 2 episodes, they're like, oh, all for one of them broke into Tartarus, all that stuff, and then Nezuko's like, no, blah blah. We have this, we have this. I
Yeah.
paid all this with my own money, yada yada yada. And now with Midoriya coming there, from my thing, you have you have all the players. You have Midoriya there.
Yep.
You have Eri there because I
Yep.
remember I'm the one who keeps bringing up like if All for One gets Eri, it's over.
Yeah.
So you have Midoriya, Eri. Obviously, Eraserhead's going to come back
Right.
eventually. So
Yeah.
you
He's still at
have,
the hospital, sort of, kind of.
which you see his new leg.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
leg,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have a person whose a quirk who can erase temporarily, who was one of the main reasons Shigaraki didn't win in the third episode because of Eraser. So
Right.
obviously, All for One's not going to let that happen again. So he's going to kill Eraser. He's not letting that happen again.
I don't think Eraser dies.
He might lose his
I
quirk, which is
I
worse.
don't I think it's gonna be a Naruto like Jiraiya versus Iruka situation, and Kakashi even. Kakashi survives, Jiraiya dies. I'm pretty sure All Might's gonna die.
Well, Kakashi only survived because, Kakashi technically died because he
Oh, right, and was
sacrificed
brought
himself.
back. That's for irregardless.
Yeah.
Like
They don't have that type of quirk here, bringing people back from the dead. Well, not
well, technically, Eri can erase people from existing. I wonder if she can, make
bring
them
them
go
back.
forward enough to exist.
Yeah, so it's just like when I see it like that, and if I'm the principal, I'm like, we have some of the strongest quirks, and the reason that we were able to survive. Now they're in one building. We have all these people. You're talking about. I've spent millions on my own money, which
Yeah.
shout out to you, but to go to your thing and to go to the next episode, those people you keep naming who have not been shown, one of them is going to be the traitor.
I don't think so.
I'm telling you, it's a student.
No, at this point, yeah. No,
and you keep naming these people.
It's somebody within those walls, 100%.
Why wouldn't Shinsho be there?
I'm actually surprised. Hold up. I will not be surprised if in the very beginning of the next season, the actual secret gets out, because if it is one of his classmates in 1A, they now know the whole truth. Every single one of them. He wrote them a note and explained. So I'm wondering what's going on that secret A hasn't been completely released yet, other than probably just covering their ass, because now there's a very select pool of people, even though it has expanded, that know the secret. B, like, is it some sort of hesitation? Again, could it be that, All for One is like threatening their family, or All for One has promised them certain things, or like, I don't know, like maybe it's they're being forced to an extent, or feel like they have no other choice. Of course, there's always a choice, but the whole like gun to your head situation, like,
yeah,
I wonder. I don't think it's one of the three that I just mentioned. I don't think it's Higakure, the Invisible Girl. I don't think it's Shinsho, and I don't think it's Monoma. I don't.
It's someone. It's a student there, and like these people that you're naming, I'm putting them in the pool. Anyone who is of name substance of class 1A who has not been seen, they are the traitor. Because there's no reason where all of this whole school was out there fighting for their lives, 1A and 1B, and you're not there. That makes no sense. There's no reason. If you're not there because you knew that was happening, and All for One told you to sit your butt at home, or like, I'm just saying, even for simple things like Shinsho, his voice changing thing could have been a big difference.
Right.
But All for One's like, you sit your ass at home, and if you don't, I'm going to kill your mom because we've had an agreement. I'm just saying, like, these people who have not been seen, there has to be a reason.
Yeah.
Obviously, Shinsho wasn't training with Eraser because Eraser was on the front lines.
True.
So why was he the only, and I'm not saying it's him, I'm just throwing stuff like, why was he the only non-mentee out there concerned or fighting with their mentor?
Right. That's a good point. That is a good point. Because even, I mean, Hawks was out there with Tokoyami,
Midoriya Gran Torino.
Midoriya, Gran Torino. I mean, All Might, All Might doesn't count, but Gran
Yeah.
Torino and then Bakugo and Best
Yeah.
Genius. Like, yeah, truly.
Again, why are you the only one who has an established mentor and you're
And you
not
weren't
out there?
there. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's gonna be a crazy
It's
reveal.
actually surprising that wasn't explained yet. I wonder if it's going
Well,
to be explained. I like, well, I mean, for the trader, I'm sure it will be explained, but I mean, even for the ones that aren't the trader, like, are we going to get an explanation for that? Are we going to be told, like, their quirk is to, you know, have XYZ cons in a, a battle royale situation that it's not safe, like, even for the heroes and whatever, like, whatever it would be.
at that point, who cares? Literally, the whole state of the country's at risk. Like, there's no time
It's
for
literally do or die,
yeah,
100%. It's been do or die the whole season.
almost for a year and a half since the middle of season 5.
Yeah.
So like, there's just a reason. There's reasons these people aren't out here. Like, there's reasons they haven't contributed. This 25 episodes, and Class 1B was really out there, and their strongest person wasn't there.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it's. I'm just saying, like, all these people we keep naming. There's a reason. Someone is. It has to be someone. It's a student, and whoever it is going to be like. Now, like you said, they have the secrets. If the student is in Class 1A and was standing there when Nezo was running his mouth, saying,
Right.
"Oh, we could go underground," oh well, that's just been leaked out, and he can
Right.
just go tell All for One.
Right.
So that's why I'm sitting here. I'm like, man. And Nezo, you're the one who said at the beginning, at the end of season 1, when All Might beat that gnome, was like, "There's a traitor." We're 5
Yeah.
seasons past that, and now it's like that plot point is going to be brought up at the weirdest time, and we're going to be mad because it's
Oh
going to be because
yeah.
of plot, and it's going to be
Absolutely.
like it's just going to be weird if like, because it's going to be brought up like this is the end, like this. Which, spoilers, people, there was an anime thing in Japan where they announced a whole bunch of anime stuff, Spy Family, Sailor Moon, everyone, like all this stuff. My Hero Academia coming back, 7th season, and it's
That's
it's
it.
either this season or they won't do the whole. They might split it maybe in some ways,
Are they
but
really
this
gonna
is
do
it.
Attack on Titan
Well,
style?
Attack on Titan's been going on for 10 years, which is that's you can for the seasons they have. 10 years is a lot. That's a long time.
Well, it is a long time. Well, from what I understand, there was a 4-year gap between like the first and second season or the second and third season, something like that. Like there was a very long gap where it was like, is it ever gonna come back? My heroes never had that question.
No, they've kept coming back, but this is it. If this isn't it, I could see them making it this whole season, and then
A movie.
a movie, or in the final, or like the final battle and epilogues, like season 8.
Yeah.
But this season 7 is the last big season.
Yeah.
Depending on if they do 25 episodes again, it is truly the last big season.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, if I was the leader there, what would I have done? Like, if we not because of plot, just forgetting stuff like Midoriya's here, Ares, like we have these super powerful quirks. All for One has been ahead of us from the jump.
Yep.
Like, how do we have months to prepare for a war and we still technically lose?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
there's a traitor there. Your strongest teacher is handicapped right now.
Yep.
You have all these people now in there who may not have quirks. They might just be normal people who you have to protect. And even from a simple thing like, oh, Midoriya, and I've brought this up before too. Oh, Midoriya, don't go. You have his mom there now. If the traitor, that is going to be the
Oh my
craziest thing.
god! Oh
If the
my
traitor has a like weapon to Midoriya's mom's neck, and that's how they reveal the traitor,
shit!
top tier, top tier.
Damn it! Oh.
That's top tier. That is, if that's how the traitor gets revealed, that something is at Midoriya's mom. Like, you're coming with me, Midoriya, or your mom gets it. And they're like, why are you doing this? We've been friends. No, I've been All for One's
Bitch.
person since day one.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Man.
That's crazy.
Man.
Just food for thought there. If that's how the traitor, that will be a panel of all panels.
Yes. Yes.
So, anything else before we go in the next episode, the final one of this season?
No, because my next comment was actually going to be about the like what is revealed during this episode. So please go ahead.
Yeah, so No Man is an Island, which has been like Andrews alluded to earlier. Really, the story of, especially from Deku, like these final 4 episodes. You got All Might in his Batmobile driving to Camino, where the final fight happened. He's
Yep.
talking about his failures as a teacher and a hero, which is kind of crazy, but
Right.
okay. And then he's confronted by Stain, and or we knew Stain was out, but the fact that All Might didn't flinch with a sword to his neck.
Oh, I know. All Might, All Might's still a badass. Like we knew when he like challenged those muggers that like
Mm-hmm.
blew up his car, and he's like, "Listen," they're like, "Don't take another step." Oh my God, it's All Might. It's like, yeah, but he sucks now, and he just keeps walking, just staring them down, and they can't do anything. Just the intimidation factor, the will that he
Mm-hmm.
had to make sure that I'm gonna get to Midoriya to protect him, if even if it kills me. So like, give it your best fucking shot. I dare
Yeah.
you. And it was like, oof,
I will
oof.
say also too, I was right. I told you that his body thing wasn't connected to One for All. It just
Right.
helps, like he can do it because things like,
He
who
can
the hell
still
are you?
pop. He can
Yeah.
still puff up and puff back down in a
which
split
is a
second.
weird, which is a weird just ability to have, but it's
Right.
okay. But Sane has a store, and All Might's like, when I was active, you never basically is like when I was active, you never pulled up on me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was
Yeah.
like, ooh, okay. And he's like, pulled up on who? Who are you? Like,
Yeah.
who are you? And then he's like, oh yeah, I forgot. You've basically been in prison since season 2, and we're in
Right.
season 6, so you have missed a lot. So then he goes into the All Might thing, and then again another episode. I love the outfit they gave. Like they have All Might with the jacket and like all
Yep.
that. You even see him as muscle for like, the shit's looking clean. And then
Yep.
he starts coughing up blood, and then even Stain's just like, nah, you're still that All Might.
Nah.
And
Nah.
then you hear again 3 episodes of people's speeches just being top
On
from
point.
Bakugo,
Just
Uraraka to now Stain, just
yeah.
dropping bars, and it was crazy too because another scene, like another emotional scene in a row, where a young woman is like, oh, they put that "I'm not here" thing, took it
Yep.
off, and then All Might's like, who is she? And Stain's like, that is the last person All Might saved. Call back to season 3. I'm like, oh my gosh, they
I
are.
completely forgot about her.
Mm-hmm.
I completely forgot, and she looks totally different because I mean it's assumed that when her building
Yeah, when
down
the
on top
building
of her,
falls on you,
she
you
was in
do
the
look
middle of like
different.
getting dressed or something because she looked
Mm-hmm.
disheveled, 100%.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Like the last person, like he saved, comes to there, cleans it off, and then Stain just talking about, like the inspiration that All Might is giving people for this generation. All that it wasn't the power that made All Might great, but its ability to inspire people and the wills to keep the flame burning, which is perfect. It's perfect. And he starts to move All Might. Almost starts tearing up. And
Yep.
then you hear Stain, he like tosses him a thing with very valuable information that we'll get to.
Yep.
Still saying true to season 2. I am not leaving this planet unless All Might is the one to kill me. And he
Yep.
said, come back to me when you're ready to kill me.
Yep.
So, what were your thoughts on? We knew Stain was out, finally seeing Stain, him finally having the face to face with All Might after 6 seasons, the speech he gave. How did you feel about it?
I thought it was great. Like I thought it was masterfully done. His speech to All Might was like it gave me goosebumps. But at the same time, I also had to remind myself like this man killed innocent people. Like he's a fanatic. Like he definitely killed people. We understand his philosophy. We get it. But
Mm-hmm.
like you can't just kill people because you don't agree with their motives for something. You can't quite do that.
And
Um
he knows that.
right. And which is what and that's the other thing that for me is like he's just like such the perfect like gray villain
Mm-hmm.
because he knows what he did is fucked up and so
Mm-hmm.
he deserves to be put down, whereas like Shizaki's kind of had a mental break, so I can't like 100% say this for certain, but Shizaki like he knew what he was doing was wrong because he had to hide it. He had to put his father figure out of commission to do it,
Mm-hmm.
so he knows it's wrong, but at the same time like he completely does not recognize the harm that he's caused. He's all about, I gotta apologize to Pops. I gotta apologize to him. And Deku's like, bitch, you hurt Eri. Like, what the disconnect,
Oh,
the
speaking of her, the
yeah.
fact too that she wanted to run, like they were holding her back
Yeah.
out there because she wanted to be right out there with them. But
I also, okay, side note, I also thought it was very cute that the one holding her was Monoma. And he was like, you could tell by the look on his face, he was very concerned. He was trying
mhm,
to be protective. And I thought that was funny because way back when she first met him, she referred to Monoma as the bad side of UA.
yeah,
So I thought that was
eh. War changes people. That is a fact.
100%.
So you have that, and then you just go back to stuff like because obviously it's been forever stuff about like Midoriya, getting him a bath. Then you have that
Oh, I
whole little
know. That was
bath
just such a
scene.
like that was such a much needed, like just lighthearted few frames. Also because I mean, Japanese style bathing habits and baths
hmm
are set up completely different
Yep.
than the Western part of the world.
Yep.
So like just it was just so funny. Like they really simplified the drawings, made them very extra cartoony,
hmm
extra silly. And I mean, they were basically manhandling him to like bathe him. And then you see Bakugo, like, having his little explosive moment, and you have the steam cloud just covering his religion. And it's like,
hmm
this was
Well,
really,
well,
they
he
could have gone
also.
overboard. They could have gone overboard and tried to make it more like sexually tinged for like the female gaze, but they didn't. It was very lighthearted and cartoony and just silly. And I really
I
appreciated
think
that.
at that, I think if this would have happened maybe earlier in the season, they would obviously because it just, I mean, it just is what it is. They would have done it, but since it's at the end and it's like trying to get Midoriya to be a person again outside of the mask,
Right.
outside of one. Because this is all this stuff comes down to philosophy wise with like superheroes and stuff. Like Midoriya became the mask. He wasn't
Yep.
Midoriya any like he
No.
wasn't Midoriya anymore. He was Vigilante Deku. He wasn't even Deku. He was
No.
ninth. He was ninth. That's what he was basically like. That he was ninth. He's the ninth user.
Yep.
That's his name. He wasn't Deku. Wasn't Midoriya. He's the ninth. That's how he identified himself. That's how when he was telling when they were fighting, they're like, "This ain't between y'all. This is between one for all and all for one." And I'm
Yep.
one of that half of that fight. So,
Yep.
so it's getting him back outside of the mask and being a person again. But again, you see Bakugo's thing when they were like, "Oh, he did this thing," and he was about. He even like again, best character in the series. He stopped himself at Det and then changed to Izuku. Like he's like, I'm
Yep.
not calling him Det. I'm like,
Yeah. 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 And then his reasoning for it was the most, again, I wonder how they're going to translate this, but his reasoning for it was the most Bakugo shit ever. Just to be like, Deku's like, that's still my hero name. Like you can still call me Deku. And he's like, no, what was it? Impossible is not in my vocabulary. And it's like,
which low key is. I
okay,
mean,
Bakugo, all
I mean,
right.
unfortunately, he has 138 episodes proving it's kind of not.
Well, right. Well,
But
right.
he also had his declaration too, like which is true because this happened to him Dragon Ball Z with Vegeta when he like at the end of the thing said Goku was the best. Like just because you admit you're sorry to someone doesn't mean your passion and stuff stops.
Oh yeah.
Like he's like, I apologize, all that stuff, and I sincerely mean everything I said. But that does not mean I don't want to be number one hero.
Yep.
I
Yep.
still see it's become
I still
super
see all of
healthy,
you as my rivals.
which is healthy.
Yeah, it is.
So it's changed like that thing. He's like, I still see like all that. That is fantastic. And then you have All Might and Midoriya talking their apology stuff. And then freaking whatchamacallit, Acid Girl. What's it?
Mina.
Mina, she's like, you should have told her. I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes now.
Right,
Let's
right.
pump
When yes, I had the exact same reaction. Also, I'm still salty at her for missing that throw. I'm
well,
still salty about it. I'm so sorry. Like
yeah,
I
that's
know
that's
you're
that's not that's not even changed. That's probably one of the worst moments in the series. But All Might, which I wish he would have. Maybe I wish I would have told him if they said on screen, like, oh, I just met with Stain, but it's okay.
Mhm.
He goes to his police buddy
Yep.
where
And he looks ragged as hell too.
they've
The
been going.
they've been running
Who?
like dogs, and nobody has actually spoken to the police directly for us to see it, because we keep saying like they're handling all of these things, they're doing all of this stuff, they have their hands full, blah blah blah, but we haven't actually seen a fucking police officer in forever. So then to see him just looking all like he hasn't slept in weeks. I mean, he's usually very clean cut. You can tell like he's just not putting in that same level of time because he literally can't. But it's like, yeah, it was a very stark reminder.
So then you see the Cap Cop too. And the first thing now, since after that previous episode, I'm like, so there are people on the force racist to the cat? Like, I'm sitting here. But
low-key, honestly, of course there are. Of course. Maybe they're not blatant. Maybe they're not, keeping a hood in their locker type racist towards him. But yeah, definitely. Like, there's got to be policies in place that would make it more difficult for him to be an officer. Or he gets more hate from the general public. Maybe they don't want a heteromorph, handling their cases. Whatever. And then if you remember from the Stain fight, I mean, I'm pretty sure the police chief is a dog. Like,
yeah, man, he hasn't been seen. He might be dead. In all honesty, he hasn't been seen since that.
Yeah, that's true.
He could have been smoked. But this is why, with the traitor stuff and all of that, this is where it really ties in. Because one, you basically, I'm assuming this, like, you go back to the flashback of the jail. I'm assuming this person probably was a rapist who was running, yelling, girls, 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 blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Stain killed him. And then he went to, to see what was going on. And this one officer, God bless that officer's soul, was holding on to that thing like a child. He wouldn't let go, all that stuff. And Stain said he will get this stuff to the one person who's worthy of it.
Yep.
And it was All Might, hence the stuff. And this is where I'm like, I don't know if I would have had, like, I would have to really think of the pros and cons. I'd have to do a whiteboard because obviously when Midoriya took out Lady, she's like, in 2 months, I'm supposed to bring Midoriya to blah, blah, blah place.
Right.
So everyone thinks
they went to where it got blown up.
Got tricked. And then everyone's like, oh, we have a month, a couple days. All for One is a million steps ahead. He has lied to all these people. Yeah. Shigaraki is going to be complete in 3 days.
3 days. 3 fucking days. That was the part when you were talking about, like, that they fumbled the bag with months' notice, and now they're saying, like, yeah, no, Shigaraki's going to be ready in 3 days. And Deku just got a bath.
Yep.
Like, we haven't even seen him with Recovery Girl. We don't know if he still has his injuries, per se. It might be assumed that he doesn't, since he just...
Oh, also, that was the first time... That first time that one hero took off their thing in the Uraraka episode. I forget who that hero was because they were in. I would have to look. That's gonna bother me. This is like her first time. Like if it's a she like took off her like.
Oh, 13. You're talking about 13.
Yeah, 13. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, so he's been playing everyone. They've been talking. Thanks, and then obviously the police are like, man. It's kind of crazy. We would have been out here getting smoked if it wasn't for the dude who's been killing all these heroes.
Right.
In which they're still going to get smoked. But what were your thoughts when it's like, it's not 3 months, it's 3 days?
3 days. Yeah, no. When I saw that, I was like, how? Like, my question of how before would now be in all caps with like 6 question marks afterwards. Like, how the fuck? Deku, as of right now, as far as we're aware, still doesn't have the second user's quirk unlocked.
And he's still technically, because of that Fox thing, he still actually can't use one for all at 100%.
Exactly. He's still doing the faux 100%. Like, in combination that he's able to achieve it like in a fake fashion, which is, I mean, that's great. That's wonderful progress. But you're going up against the big bad in 3 days. Less than 3 days, because you want to do it before he's finished.
Yeah,
and
so technically,
just got back. You just were able to take a fucking have a full night's rest.
Yep.
Have a bath, like bruh.
So technically, just one for all, he's still at 45%. Just that basic one for all, without breaking anything, and like you said, the Fox thing, like all that. But yeah, so it's 3 days, which is very, very, very bad. And so now all this information has obviously another thing. Yeah, ever since Bakugo's episode, I was starting to get more and more pissed because I'm like, what? Where was this stuff 20-something episodes again? All Might requests immediate immediate aid from foreign heroes. So
Right.
finally, since the third movie, because I've been asked about these people all this season,
Yes.
you have the
So sad.
UN back, and
Yep.
they're all on their little screens, like, and they are saying shit that we have said on this thing, especially in the case study thing, like if a hero, like if heroes leave, and one of the people's like, there are deterrents. If our top heroes leave, villain stuff rise, which I agree. But
Yep.
then they're like, well, we also found out All for One has people in all your fucking countries. So you're just like, this is bad. So what do you do if you're a president?
I did not hear all of what you just
All
said.
right. Nope, it's fine. So we'll rewind it back. So what I was saying was when I last left was like when they were talking about like if we the deterrence, like if our heroes leave, all that stuff, which is valid. I've talked about that, especially after that third. That's why I like the
After
third
the third
movie.
movie, after the nukes, yeah. Yeah.
So, but then they're like Shigaraki. I mean, not All for One has people in all of your countries, and then
Mm-hmm.
they also talked about the paperwork of stuff, which
Yep.
also real applications, these stuff, paperwork, all that jazz. But then you have some people who you saw in the movie were
Mm-hmm.
like,
Why are
we want
we?
a piece of you want a piece of All for One, yada yada yada. All their screens are blank, yada yada. And then United States was like, yeah,
Yeah. We. She already went.
without filling out the
They were like,
paperwork.
we. Yeah. She just went, and she's
So,
decked out in the stars and stripes,
yep,
and for her, and
her
she's
name
just
is Star and
like,
Stripe.
yeah. Well, I kind of forgot about that part, but yes, I mean, it's like she stitched American flags like all over her body. Just that's her whole thing, and then obviously a flag cape, and then she specifically said, "My sensei or my like
Master. Yep.
teacher, yeah, needs help. Ask
Why
me
would
for
I?
help. I'm fucking going." And she
Yeah.
took the jets with her
Yeah,
too.
she's sitting on top. So for people with stars and stripes, this is where one of those things, if you didn't, this is why I say watch the movies, because obviously the UN comes from this.
Yeah.
If you've watched the movies, you've actually seen Star and Stripe before.
Yes.
She was the young lady. If you watch the very first My Hero movie, My Hero Two Heroes, when
Yep.
All Might was interning in the
Yeah.
United States with his little sidekick Dave,
Yeah.
she is actually the older sister in that car who All Might saves.
Yes.
So if you didn't know that listening, if you just watched that, which is why these movies are canon, if you didn't think so, don't know why you wouldn't, but that is crazy how you have that. So obviously, and that was young All Might. She was inspired by him. Like he saved me on stuff, and she's almost just an adult female version of Midoriya, like in the
She's an
imitation.
adult female version of All Might. Like she's jacked.
Yeah, which that will go into her powers too. So then you'll see why she is like that. But the reason I said the Midoriya thing is because obviously, like she was so enamored by him that she
Oh,
wants
right,
to
right, 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 right.
look like
Yeah.
him. Hence why that's the way she looks and the cape and all
Mm-hmm.
of that. And it also just shows like it shows the respect All Might has across the planet because
Right.
all the people are like, man, this is coming from All
All
Might,
Might. Like it's not just the government asking, it's All Might. Like it's serious if he's asking. If
which kind of pisses me off because we could have
yeah.
done this a long time ago. But
Yes. Yes.
but
Again,
yeah,
we
she
should have
has the
had her
badass.
all hands on deck for
Yeah.
all of it, but whatever. But
She has the badass scene with like you just said with her standing on top of the fighter jets going. She's America's number one hero. The way they were talking about like forms of diplomacy, it's going to be interesting to see what type of jurisdiction these other heroes are going to have in Japan.
right.
So that'll be interesting. And then this part, which this quote unquote was spoiled on to me via Twitter. This part was actually not on the manga. So the part where
Oh.
Midoriya is having the nightmare and has All for One and Shigaraki,
Oh.
that is not in the manga. The manga it has him sleeping, and then
Mm-hmm.
like the next chapter is the next arc.
Interesting. Well, it's
So
probably just like a bit of a teaser because I mean, honestly, it would have been interesting to have that as like a kind of a connection to PTSD.
mhm. That's what they said. The reason they're just like, this is crazy how whatever animation studio
Mhm.
had added that stuff for All for One's words and Uraraka's Good Morning, all that stuff. They added that because instead of just leaving it to him being asleep till season 7.
Mm-hmm.
So they added all of that, the wake up, all that jazz, and all that. And then, like you see, again, Stars and Stripes and all her American glory and all that. But he says we're going to save the day together, but 3 days. And that ends season 6.
Yeah.
So
Damn.
what are they? I mean,
Damn.
we were at this point a year ago where they had months to prepare for 10,000 plus people, and that still didn't
Yep.
go the way they wanted.
Nope.
Now they have Shigaraki 3 days, and they're gonna have to devise a plan. I mean, and that's gonna start the next season, which means the trader is gonna be probably in like that if they do like the
The first
split.
couple episodes. It
Yeah,
should be.
yeah.
I think I had it spoiled. I think I had it spoiled for me, and I think it those spoilers came out not very long after I had the conversation with Bakugo and Deku
Hmm.
spoiled. So I do postulate that it would be in the first couple episodes of season 7 that they are revealed. But I think I didn't go ahead and Google it to make sure that I actually saw what I think I saw,
Hmm.
just because I don't want it confirmed. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
that's
agree that it most likely will come out in the first few episodes. I actually think season 7, I wonder if they're going to do kind of a okay, here's where we are, and then do another kind of flashback series. Like I know they can't flashback very far,
hmm.
but I wonder if that's how they're going to start.
I mean, they could do. I guess they could do episodes
Oh,
like flashbacks of like these new foreign heroes like Star and
yes.
Stripe and like all that.
Sorry, what I just remembered was the biggest thing for me during I don't want to call it Uraraka's episode, but it is the episode where she really,
Hmm.
came to the
It's
forefront.
her. It's her biggest spotlight, probably of the series. Like that and her
Bakugo.
verse on Bakugo. And if you want to count, I mean, she does have that iconic moment when after the war where she's looking blood on her face, and that one
Yep.
hero's like, "I give up." Like that. That's
Yeah.
like an iconic, like in the My Hero thing. But moment
Yeah.
wise, that was her. Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah. So it's for me, that's kind of her episode. And the what's the word I'm looking for? So when because Midoriya is the narrator of the story up
Hmm.
until this point. The intro is, this is a story of how I became the greatest hero in the world, or whatever the verbiage is. During that episode is when you catch up to that monologue, and he says, and that's the story, like the story has finished at that moment, and that's the story how I became the world's greatest hero. And then he says immediately after, and this is how everyone became the greatest heroes ever,
Hmm.
or whatever it was. And I'm just like, oh, so then I'm actually kind of curious if the next season, like that that intro stuff, if it would change.
We'll see. It might be him talking when he's.
I
Uh,
wonder if it's going to be more like present tense instead of like, because when somebody's monologuing backwards, like, hey, this is the story of blah 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 blah, to me the thing that pops up is he's no longer talking in the past tense, it's now present tense. And so therein lies the question of, does he survive?
or it's all a ruse, and that's not him saying it. He could be reading it from. It could be like I don't know. It could be Bakugo's kid reading Midoriya's biography in class.
Maybe, but they do it in his voice though, and that's why I feel like it's always been Midoriya narrating the story.
Well, that's how you trick people, though. That's how you get them off.
Hmm, I'm sticking with my guns on this one.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's how you get people off. No one thought Toby was Obito.
That's true. Well, yeah, but they also
They
gave him
change.
a fake ass voice. This one is Midoriya's
I'm
voice.
telling you, they will switch it. They
Oh,
will switch it up on you.
also in that episode, made me chuckle. Fucking President Mike is talking to the crowd, trying to explain to them what the fuck's going on with a microphone in his hand.
Yeah,
Like,
that's bad.
and the giant speaker still on his neck. Like, sir, don't you have a quirk for this? Like, why do you have a
Yeah,
microphone?
that's terrible. So before we end this one, Andrea, just overall thoughts on season 6. What are your favorite 4 episodes from it? Like, where are you ranking season 6 and your My Hero thing, and what do you
Oh,
expect from season 7's the end? Like this is it.
season 7, I am expecting tears. I am expecting anger. I am expecting joy, some sort of cathartic release. Just like I expect, the traitor is going to be revealed. I do
Mm-hmm.
expect, the heroes to win. I just don't know at what capacity that's going to look like. Um, my favorite episodes for this season,
Just 4.
definitely, yeah, the four. Um, I'm pulling up an episode list so I say their actual names. Honestly, my favorite, ooh, number one favorite is probably, and this is probably going to be a hot take. Ooh, is probably the wrong way to put out a fire, where they're kind of going into like Dobby's childhood experience. I think that's probably my favorite episode of
Okay.
this season. The next one would be Friend,
Okay.
um, A Woman's Declaration,
Mm-hmm.
and Threads of Hope.
Okay. Um, we should probably flip. So my favorite, just because it's really apology, Deku versus Class 1A. And then I can't get the episode. I can't leave the episode that really put this season on the map for all the sites. Dobby's dance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do a young woman's declaration, and then Threads of Hope. Yeah, Threads of Hope, best genius in Lemillion
Mm-hmm.
coming back. I mean,
I
yeah,
will. I will switch mine from Friend. It's. I feel like Friend needs to be attached to the Class 1A versus Deku like episode. So if I could wrap those in one, because the actual apology and like the expression of emotion is what I really appreciate from it. But the tie-in from the second really being like, this is what he needs. Like he's got everything else on lock basically at this point. Obviously not to the full extent, but on lock. But what he needs is still a friend. So like for that to bleed into the Deku versus Class 1A. So I will kind of put those as a tandem.
yeah, and then one that's really, really, really close. Which if I want it any day, I could just take one of my ones I said and switch. Because this episode for me let me know season 6 was about to really be something. The third episode, When's Justice?
Yes.
When Hawks kills twice. Like
Yes.
seeing that and seeing twice, like that was when I knew this season
Rough.
was going to be something else. So, but yeah, that is it for season 6. I mean, Andrew, any final thoughts?
I want season 7 to be here already, but it's also interesting to note that My Hero still has not finished. Like
Mm-hmm.
it has not been announced that the manga is officially done. We know it is ending,
Mm-hmm.
but I wonder how soon after the manga finishes we'll have season 7. Or honestly, I wonder if we're going to be getting the very end of My Hero in the manga version just before season 7 um, drops.
It
So
depends
like,
on how greedy these people are, because there are instances too where an anime will, with some direction from the people who are involved with the manga, they'll do their own ending,
yeah,
and then it'll
yeah.
be
Hopefully they
different,
don't do that.
and
I
then
really hope they don't do that.
their manga will be like it'll be very similar, but it'll have its own different things. Like that's how like like the anime ending of Dragon Ball Super, the Tournament of Power, because that was one of the first times in my life where the anime was ahead of the manga. So when that ended with Goku and Jiren stuff, the manga did it complete like they did that tournament completely differently, and they're still ongoing. So it all depends because again, money is what talks.
It's true.
So if they might do something where this author's taking their sweet time on the end, they might put another movie in there. They might put a prequel in
I
there.
honestly kind of want them to put a movie in there. I don't know what the movie would be about, but My Hero movies are so well done.
Yeah, they are.
Again, for me, I probably don't like the first one as much as most other people do. but they are still so well done. The second movie, oh my god, is my
Well,
second
shoot.
favorite anime
Now
movie
the
ever.
first one has more. The first and the third one probably have more impact on what's going on now. When you now hindsight,
Yeah, I guess so, but
you
the
get the
second movie was so
armbands from Melissa, first
yeah,
movie. Star and Stripe, first
yeah,
movie. Who she's about to be in the final battle. So
yeah.
like,
It's
so like
true.
that
That was
first
something I did
movie.
not expect. Like I did not. Okay, I knew they would come. I knew the other heroes, the international heroes, would come. I just didn't necessarily know if they were going to be like one of those like last second pop ups. And honestly, I was a little worried it was going to be like the whatever the fuck they were called in Hunter x Hunter, the 10 beasts or whatever, that they
Mm-hmm.
were from different countries. They were supposed to be like the top like Nen users in their country or whatever.
And we're worthless.
And they roll up and got put down in like 3 seconds. Like that's what I was kind of afraid was going to happen, was the international heroes were going to pop up like they're going to save the day and then they get smoked.
No, they're coming in full force. So like that first movie has a lot of
Yes.
impact. And even the third movie with the UN now has a lot of impact on this season and the rest going forward.
Right. It
So,
does. It does. It's just the theatrics of the second season and second movie.
mhm.
And honestly, for me, I think the second movie is what really started to turn me for Bakugo because that movie was big in us seeing his development before he, does the whole total victory, before he has, it's the minor details from that movie. And you do get to see more of the other students. And yeah. It also gives us another potential healer other than Aerie, with I'm forgetting his name right now. I think it starts with a K. No, it doesn't. Shoot, with the sister. But yes, that the cell regeneration kid. Um, yeah, no.
I know what you're talking from the second movie, the kid, the boy.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
So
But
I will
yeah.
also say too, for obviously since we're doing that tournament, just a little power scaling fact, how obviously like the season one when All Might was talking about when he beat that gnome who took 300 punches and he said like in his prime it would have been five
Right.
just for that simple fight. So just think about it. All Might, so 5 times 60. All Might is 60 times weaker. 60 times weaker in the start of My Hero than his prime. And he's still the strongest person on the planet. Just put that in perspective. 60 times
Yep.
weaker than his prime. And he's still and Endeavor and all of them are still nowhere near his strength. Six,
Right.
just put simple power scaling math since we've been doing that
The
tournament.
anime March Madness tournament. Yep.
But,
Elemental.
yep. But with
And
that being said, thank you all for following us throughout season 6. It has been a great ride. Obviously, we knew it was going to end eventually, but we made it all the way to basically almost April, the end of March. Season 7's announced. They don't have a date for it. If they are keeping their thing consistent, probably October, probably.
this year, you think? I honestly was gonna guess it was gonna come out the beginning of next year.
I don't know if they can. I don't know if they can wait. Like from a financial thing, like it's hot right now.
That's true.
So I don't know if like you can wait and like do you want to be and it's competitive because obviously
But they would also be competing with themselves in the same anime of the year awards
I
because
think
it'd
some
be
people care about that, but obviously they care about the money the most.
oh, that's true.
So, but I also just think for a fact that like obviously when we watch them, if you have like I have the Crunchyroll Premium, so we're
Mhm.
getting these episodes 1 hour after they release live on like Japanese cable.
Mhm.
So like obviously those slots are very coveted.
Yes.
So like you got to get all these other animes and stuff like all right, we want this and this. If you want this prime slot, like the slot that Saturday slot, you got to announce it quick
Right.
because they
Right.
could already be in the lab now, or they could be like, oh, we have a movie coming. We don't know. It's probably maybe the next summer like festive thing. They'll let us know.
Yeah.
But no, it's
Hopefully we find out soon. That's all most of
yeah,
us really care about.
agreed. So with that being said, I mean, again, thank you everyone following us all the way through. season 6. It's really been a fantastic ride. The twists, the turns, and all of that. The things we saw coming, the things we didn't see coming. And now we're going to have to ponder once we're done listening to this podcast, like once we're done recording, how are they actually going to win? We're back to that question once again with even worse circumstances.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
you guys ponder that and let us know. Andrew, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, nope. I think you said it all. Thank you so much, everyone.
Awesome. And with that being said, L7C Podcast signing out. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C Podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.